I guess for your current event report, you are going to be working on the screen slide right here, and you're just going to be working on taking notes from the left's perspective. So go ahead and click on this article from the left, and it's going to bring you to a Google Doc. That's because this article was really, really good, just really, really long. So I went ahead and put it in a Google Doc and just shortened or took out the parts that didn't really apply to our question. And remember, our question is all about what should we do about the 2020 Summer Olympics. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and read the article aloud and give you some hints on what to write down for notes. Olympians enter a risky new event, line jumping. Some nations are prioritizing Olympians for vaccinations. Others say athletes will wait their turn. The choices could determine if the Tokyo Games are a sporting spectacle or a super spreader event. So even just reading the little short title for this article, we can see from the left's perspective that they think that the Olympics could be great because it could be a celebration of sports. It could be terrible because it could just be a super spreader for COVID. And it looks like they might be thinking about adding some regulations, like all athletes had to be vaccinated. In the ongoing debate of how to distribute limited supplies of the coronavirus vaccine, the consensus often starts with a few groups: doctors and nurses, the ill and the aging, frontline workers, and teachers. At no point, typically, would elite athletes, such as a nation's finest synchronized swimmers, fastest sprinters, or its top gymnasts and badminton players, be considered as people who should get the vaccine early. And yet, here we are debating whether or not the athletes should get the vaccine before many others in need right before this summer's Tokyo Olympics. All right, so we can go ahead and just kind of pause our reading. It looks like this whole paragraph, they're just going to be focusing on whether or not athletes should be required to or should get the vaccine early. Should athletes get? Okay, my coffee is still kicking in. All right, so going back to our article over here. It's not just a question of ethics, it's a question of logistics. If some governments aren't able to get enough vaccines over the next few months, the Olympics could be a global super spreader event rather than a celebration of international sports. In any other year, professional athletes who are usually young and healthy would be ushered to the back of the line for vaccinations. This year, though, the Olympic Games to open in Japan, where rising cases already this year forced many of the country's largest cities into a state of emergency, the question has become rather hard to answer. A growing number of countries have announced that they will push their Olympians to the front of their vaccination lines. Mexico's president this month placed his country's athletes in a priority group alongside medical workers and teachers. Lithuania has moved even faster. It began administering vaccination shots to its Olympians weeks ago. Neither Japanese organizers nor the International Olympic Committee will require proof of vaccination or quarantine periods for anyone attending or competing in the Games, though there will be regular testing for athletes, coaches, journalists, and officials while they are in Japan. The vaccines won't be required, but they're going to do regular testing. So we go ahead and add that. Vaccines won't be required so far, but there will be regular testing. Okay, continuing on in our article. Other national Olympic committees, out of sense of moral duty or just fear of public backlash, have said publicly that they will not ask for preferential treatment in vaccinations for their athletes. I certainly don't think there is any reason why athletes should be given special treatment, said Evan Dunphy, an elite race walker from Canada, a country where Olympians so far do not have vaccine priority. Athletes are essential workers, said Arthur Kaplan, a professor of medical ethics at New York University School of Medicine. Other countries such as Denmark, Serbia, and the Philippines have said they will usher prospective Olympians toward the front of the vaccination line. Kaplan said that not enough attention is being paid to the mental health side effects of the widespread lockdowns. He said sports, in that regard, provide a healthy distraction. Okay, so according to this guy, he says that it would be fair for these Olympians to get vaccinated because they are helping everybody's mental health. Dick Pound, a powerful International Olympic Committee member from Canada, suggested last month that taking 300 or 400 vaccines out of several million for athletes in Canada should not warrant any public outcry. But many everyday citizens, millions of them just as eager to get vaccinated, would disagree. This event could help everyone get their minds off the long, stressful pandemic, but it could just as easily make things worse by spreading more of the virus. Okay, so this is kind of the second time that they brought this up, that the Olympics could go either way. Let's go ahead and write that down in our notes. Olympics could be a super spreader event or a great way to take our minds off of pandemic. The Olympics will, after all, bring together representatives of more than 200 countries and then send them home to every corner of the globe after several weeks of competition. Athletes in the U.S. agree that they should wait their proper place in line, said Bree Schaaf, if I mispronounced your name, a former Olympian who is now the chair of Team USA Athletes Advisory Council. A survey of German Olympic athletes this year showed how torn these Olympic athletes feel. 73% of the respondents said they agreed with the current vaccine protocols that did not give them special treatment. But when asked if they should receive priority if vaccination was required in order to compete, 70% of them said yes. So they're saying, yeah, for the most part, we shouldn't get special treatment. But if it's required, then yeah, we should get that special treatment or get our vaccines early. In other countries, such as Mexico, there have been a spike in cases, but still very few vaccinations. The Mexican president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, put Olympic athletes in a priority group with medical workers and teachers, ensuring they would receive both doses of the vaccine in time for the Games. His declaration did not seem to upset people. Okay, so according to, if we used Mexico as an example, it looks like people generally weren't upset if the athletes got their vaccination early. This is also a hard decision for the International Olympic Committee and organizers of the Tokyo Games. When the athletes arrive in Japan in July, they will be entering a country that is nowhere close to herd immunity. And remember, herd immunity just means that enough people got the vaccine that that coronavirus is just kind of gone. Japan started vaccinating healthcare workers only in mid-February, and it does not plan to start vaccinating older residents until mid-April. Having thousands of unvaccinated people from hundreds of countries get together could be bad, but having athletes around the world being perceived as skipping the line to get vaccinated, however, would not be a good look for the Olympics either, which has already upset people with the many delays, high cost, and COVID regulations. The response of the Olympic officials and local organizers has been to share the responsibility with governments and national Olympic committees, encouraging them to find ways to get their athletes and coaches vaccinated, declaring publicly that the national protocols should be followed and hoping for the best.